Hi, everybody. My husband, Kraken, is right there. We're here today to ask Jim McGovern to inhabit his skin. I've known this man for a long time, and I think he has a good heart, and he's shown it in many ways. In particular, he has an extreme focus on stopping hunger in this country, and he has put everything into that. He walks like 30 miles through snow in the fall. This is not a man like so many other Democrats and Republicans who doesn't care, who is hopeless, and we all know who those folks are. That's not him. But we're here today, even though he is not here and his staff is not here, and I think that's a big mistake, but that can be corrected. We're here to tell him to inhabit that skin, which is a caring skin, a knowing outlook on the world and its peoples, an understanding and compassionate one, and one that hates lies and violence. Because I believe that's who he is. We have talked to him with Latin America Solidarity Committee and the Anti-Imperialist Action Committee. We've talked to him for a long time about what he needed to do in Venezuela. And most recently in March, he said he was ready to do the right thing. I may be wrong, but I personally believe he wants to do the right thing, and we're here to tap him on his shoulder and tell him that he has to follow through, because this is not a theoretical issue. This is an issue of people in Venezuela dying every day. Selena's letter to his office said that how many people will have died between the time we last met with him and today?
Around 7,000.
Around 7,000 people. Most of them the most fragile in our society. And he has to, and many of them that have died of hunger. Most people do not get more than 2 meals a day in Venezuela because there is no food because of the sanctions. Many others have died because there is no medicine. He needs to step up and do what he knows he needs to do. And on Venezuela, that means to write President Biden a public letter like he did on January 14th regarding Cuba, and that was an outstanding letter, to encourage the president to lift the sanctions on Venezuela and cease recognition of interim President Juan Guaido. He's not really interim, he's false president. The current sanctions are considered a war crime by the standards of the Geneva Convention and a crime against humanity, as defined by the United Nations International Law Commission. And every day, every hour in Venezuela, they are killing people. He needs to co-sponsor and actively support any progressive legislation regarding sanctions and U.S. foreign policy, particularly Representative Omar's bill, once it is reintroduced, and if she doesn't reintroduce it, he needs to reintroduce a similar bill himself. Then he needs to take a more public official stance against U.S. foreign policy from the office. He needs to come out and get his buddies, who are not nearly, most of them, nearly as understanding and forceful and with a history like he has as he does. He needs to get them to sign on all the things that we're talking about. And then, at the very same time, he needs to apply the principles of humanity to Palestine and Gaza. He must first co-sponsor H.R. 2590 to promote and protect the human rights of Palestinians living under Israeli military occupation, and to ensure that our U.S. taxpayer funds are not used by the government of Israel to support the military detention of Palestinian children, women, men in the occupied territories or in the state of Israel. They cannot be used for the unlawful seizure, appropriation, and destruction of Palestinian property and forcible transfer of civilians in the West Bank, or for further annexation of Palestinian land in violation of international law. He must demand application of existing U.S. arms export regulations to stop the deployment of U.S. weapons against civilians in Gaza and elsewhere. I saw the kind of destruction that can happen in a 26-mile long, 2-mile wide bit of land that is smaller, I think someone was saying today, than the municipality of Stockholm, Sweden. People are living next to, on top of each other, with each other, and they are being killed every day. Thank God for the ceasefire, but the ceasefire will not bring peace. The two are not the same. There must be a just settlement. The blockade must be lifted, and the people of Gaza must be free. He needs to co-sponsor the House Joint Resolution introduced by Representative Ocasio-Cortez, Pocan, and Tlaib to block the proposed sale of the $735 million worth of military, high-tech, lethal equipment that is going to Israel to bomb in Gaza. And he needs to take a public stance against the ongoing legislation against the BDS movement. We must be able to organize. The time is now for us to say no to the support of Israel. We need to have the capacity to do that. One of the best ways to do it is to block the financial support of the State of Israel through BDS. We need to join in that and not be threatened with being thrown in jail. Wouldn't that be nice? So these are the demands of the AIAC and LASK, and we need to make sure that we sign those postcards that are going around, and I think there's a petition online going on around too. Am I right or wrong about that? Okay, there's almost a petition online, okay? Thanks very much.
Round of applause.